Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Hope Carter of I Am the Industry, Louder Than Music podcast. Today's episode, we have DJ IV from Houston, Texas. He's a legend. He won't tell you that, so I will. He is a Houston legend. He has a project out now called Paper Mache Muscle, which, if I do say so myself, because I did in the article I wrote about it, go check it out. It's super dope. What's up, DJ IV?
What up, though? Thank you so much for having me in the interview and also the write-up. It was super ill. I seriously appreciate you taking time to listen and check it out.
Of course. And y'all, by the way, during this broadcast, be sure to comment if you have questions, ask questions, just say hi, whatever, hang out with us. Ivy, people who are acquainted with my writing style know that if I don't like something, I don't write about it. So the fact that I wrote about it and went into depth with it and put the video in there, I dig it. So first and foremost, I want to ask you a little bit about your resume. I know you're not huge on the bragging about yourself, but this is the time and place. So who have you worked with? How did you get into this industry?
So basically, I started really my first kind of leg into the industry was through my father. So my father was a video director as well as worked for the TV station for Channel 39 and Warner Brothers here within Houston, Texas. So one of the youngest to be hired in a program out of the school that he went to. So he was 17 years old when he started in the industry. And had an opportunity to kind of get an inside look at a lot of the pioneering groups of Houston hip hop coming through Rap-A-Lot Records. So he was one of the first videographers for groups like the original Ghetto Boys. This is before Scarface, Willie D, and Bushwick actually, became what we know as the Ghetto Boys today. So there's actually a group that precursors the Ghetto Boys that have made it into popular and rap fame here as we know it, for our generation. So it started with my dad. My dad actually, my first interaction with records or a large record collection was him taking me to DJ Screw's house. He was actually shooting a video for DJ Screw on this particular day. I had to be about 7 years old. I remember sitting in his front living room and I was playing with his little baby pit bull. It was cool. And I hear these sounds emanating from a room behind me. And I walk into the room behind me, while my dad's shooting. And I just see, no lie, I remember it like it was yesterday. It's just stacks of records, lining the walls, and a lot of people, don't even account for the fact that DJ Screw was a vinyl head, and a vinyl pioneer as well, just because of, his manipulation of time and actual structure of songs. So that was when I fell in love with vinyl and actually fell in love with, seeing a DJ work and do his thing for the first time. So it was my first time kind of, catching the flare and kind of getting a little bit of that dust off of, a legend there. And it really kind of made me enthusiastic about going back home after that and destroying my dad's record collection, unfortunately, because I was trying to scratch. So I went what I saw, and I ended up messing up. I think it was a couple of Jackson 5 records, Luther Vandross, and a lot of early stuff that was in his collection. So he had to teach me, and I had to kind of learn after that, and I had to start buying my own records. But they were really cool about it. So like when cassette tapes and CDs came along, they switched me over. So my first official, pair of decks were CDJs. So, back then there were two Geminis. If anybody knows anything, Gemini is like the crappiest of the actual brands, especially back then. They just did not put out quality stuff. And it just, it was what it was. But I was able to kind of learn how to start queuing songs up, and really kind of chopping songs, at particular parts and pieces. That's what kind of started teaching me structure when it came down to producing a little bit later on. So, a lot early on, it's funny. Most of my influences are from, Southern hip hop luminaries and from, a lot of, the actual culture here in Houston went into, the beginnings of my actual sound and kind of tinkering along with sounds and production and messing with records, learning how to actually screw records and change the BPMs, slow it down with my hand and do things of that nature. So.
Okay. Well, if y'all aren't familiar, I know we're in Houston, so we get it. If y'all aren't familiar with screw music or Rap a Lot or Ghetto Boys, essentially it's everything every rapper is trying to do right now. They're biting off of us, and
Right.
that's subject. I think that goes right along with it. What do you think of all of this? Because I don't know if you saw, I interviewed OG Ron C during South by Southwest, and he was like, man, Houston started everything. Like, wasn't nobody carrying, styrofoam cups around. Nobody was sipping lean. Like, that's definitely a Houston thing. And then I had to explain to the guy who normally hosts with me, Billy the Kid. Hey, guy, how are you? Shout out to you. That just screw music is just very, we'll say, accurate to the feeling of being on lean, and what do you think about that? I know I hear a lot of Houston rappers like, oh man, like Houston fans are just trying to like ride everybody who's popular right now, but it sounds like it's the other way around.
Well, what I think a lot of Houston fans have to realize is this is beyond hip hop at this point. You have to look at cats like Brian Michael Cox as well. If you're going to talk about influences outside of Houston, Robert Glasper, DJ Premier being a big one. I mean, there have been guys that have gone on to leave Houston and innovate sounds in other places, So our sound is oozing in all different facets: jazz, R&B, golden era hip hop. It's funny, you talk about these younger artists and them not wanting to actually reverence, those periods in time that came before them becoming artists in the hip hop industry. However, not realizing that, even if you got any type of Southern influence in your rap, or Southern influence in your particular style, that essentially came from us, but we did so many styles that you don't even really know, you can tie us down to one cliched style that everybody likes to play off of when it comes down to bang and screw, chop and screw, the syrup sipping culture, and, even the smoking culture, and things being slowed down. But we've gone on to influence so many different styles on all three coasts, and have, made our stamp in places people don't even realize, and have gone on. I mean, you think about your Travis Scotts, and I think a lot of times we get very selfish with our artists here in Houston, I think, just because of the fact that we're into preserving lineage and history so much here that it almost becomes our undoing when it comes down to us being able to actually promote artists that are keeping up with current trends, that are, continuing to make strides to move the actual Houston sound forward. And, I think we need to really advocate for there to be more or less more gatekeepers to really, do their due diligence with trying to actually push the culture forward. It makes no sense when you can have major corporations come into town and essentially we're looking at the same rappers that have been fighting amongst each other for the last 20 years, but now you all want to come back together and do things. However, at this particular point, it makes no sense for you all to come back together, 35 plus and not have any new artists, not have anyone new that you're talking about, and decline to comment at particular times because you've gone so far beyond your city that you don't believe that there's anything underneath you that's worth even commenting on. And, from us being on the inside, especially of this movement and this wave coming up right now, we know that, reality very, very much to the contrary,
Yeah, I would completely agree with you that we have a lack of mentorship here with people who have made it or whatever. And I'm not sure what they're hoarding the fame for. Like Mike Jones will always be Slim,
Yeah, and to be correct, it's not everybody, because honestly, I wouldn't be where I am without certain mentors, especially within the city, that helped me along my path and are still helping me progress. I just want to see a more active role with the ones that have a larger presence. Like, you have the ability to unify and push boundaries and push things forward. I understand this is hustle city, but at the end of the day, you got your hustle off of this art. You developing your art. So continue to develop that art and plant those seeds is all I'm asking.
That's so real. Okay, so in that same vein, 3 top Houston hip hop artists who we should be looking out for. Ooh. Just 3. You only get 3. I know you work with everybody, but I don't care. You get 3.
See, but that's okay. I'll put it like this: if I do say three, it is not three in the sense of these are the only three. It is just three that I am considering. So
Okay.
more or less, like three people who I, in my mind, am looking for. And this is both personal. This is personal preference, and then there may be some people I don't really know about because I haven't gotten as deep into their catalog. I'm going to tell my own cat that I actually have coming out right now, Jax Johanna. Essentially, just because stylistically, I like the energy that he brings into his actual art, and it's something refreshing. He's not originally from Houston, but more or less, he is somebody I think that embodies, the same, ideals that we were talking about, the ideas that we were talking about earlier when it came down to the Houston sound being able to ooze and translate to multiple coasts and multiple places and influence people in multiple ways. Flagger Woods being another
Yes.
cat.
Yes. I'm super late, but I just got into him and I love him.
Yeah. I mean, dude is dope. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm just saying, him just because of the fact that that's another cat that like I heard his style and I just thought he was dope. And I got a chance to actually DJ before him and kind of just sit and watch him do his thing. And I just like the way that he actually operates, during his shows and the way that he rocks his crowds. And like top three it's not even top three. It's just three people I'm mentioning. And I'm just going to continue to say that because like there is no top three. I got so many people that
Nobody's feelings get hurt. Nobody feel any shade. I just asked him three. Get mad at me or something. Don't get mad at me. I'm just kidding. I need to interview y'all. But like, he's just spitballing three.
And I'm still gonna say like the homie Doe Man. I'm waiting on him to pop. Like I'm waiting on him. Honestly, like
We all are. I gotta interrupt you here because I'm frustrated. I wrote about Doe, I think 2 summers ago, as somebody to look for, top indie artists to look for from Houston, along with Soul Sharif and Lyric Michelle. They do anything too. I'm about to get Lyric on here as well.
Right.
Just decide.
Dope.
But I am frustrated with him not popping yet. Please speak on that.
Well, I'll put it like this. We live in what I almost want to say is, in a sense, a passive-aggressive era, in the sense that we have started to synthesize a lot of our interactions with each other, and a lot of that is not coming by way of experiencing things. It's coming by way of more or less, vicariously living through somebody else's story or somebody else's experiences. And I think that becomes troublesome because it detaches you in a particular way and allows you to look at things in a more exploitive way, as opposed to looking at them in a way that they, relate to you. They don't become as relatable when you're not attached to it and you can't, empathize or sympathize with the things that are happening within, that context. So with Doe is rapping from a very real place. Essentially the things that he's seen, the things that he goes through are very real, and it's not a place that most people are accustomed to living to, and it's a place that most people want to forget about. Just because, it's a place of struggle. It's a place of hardship. It's a place, where you're having to, grow up learning what balance is because of the fact that you're looking at all of the inadequacies of the human condition and you can't figure it out or make sense of it for yourself. So you can only express how you feel about it. And that's what comes through in his music. Unfortunately, we don't live in an age where people want to genuinely become a part of a reality without, I think, someone else either agreeing that that reality is something that is either popular or cool or trend worthy. And so if it's not trend worthy, it's not popular. And unfortunately, the story of a Latino rapper in Houston, Texas, for most people is not a popular story right now. And it sucks because as we go on, you're going to figure out my story is not a popular story for people either. And essentially the things that I'm trying to do and the textures that I'm trying to introduce, here to Houston are not popular. They're not popular amongst, most music listeners here, and I'm okay with that. I have to make my art, regardless, because of the fact that it's the universe telling me to continue. and it's my own will coinciding with, you know, those calls from the universe that push me on. So there's something higher and beyond people not realizing what I'm doing now that I have to kind of cling to. And I think Doe's going to have to be in that same place, because, you know, it may not be this lifetime where everything gets, you know, placed upon him and he gets those accolades and that recognition, but he'll see it. It's just not giving up, you know?
I would put those three rappers and yourself into the category of what I like to call artist instead of product. I think if you guys were products, y'all would just have some crap out already, and it would be very no shade, just 22 tracks of nothing. Anyway, moving on. You know, it would just be, okay, I do music sometimes, and here's some stuff. And there would be nothing for people like me to write about because I'm not interested in that, you know? So I feel like the real music lovers they're probably already into the rappers that you named. And after tonight, they'll be into you as well. But they're already listening to like SoundCloud. They're finding music on SoundCloud. They're finding music through other means than what is on this already like prepackaged Spotify list. You know what I'm saying?
Word, yeah.
Yeah. So I heard you mention the word textures, which is a wonderful term for your latest project, Paper Mache Muscle, which if you think of paper mache anyway, you think of, you know, paste and clay and all that kind of stuff. So tell me a little bit about Paper Mache Muscle.
All right. So Paper Mache Muscle, it's an interesting thing. So it came out of, it sounds exactly like the place that it came out of emotionally. So we're talking about tension. We're talking about, you know, the paper thinness, you know, shallow thoughts, you know what I'm saying? So I'm coming back from Europe essentially, but I'm coming back in a climate, you know, where we had a hard year as a company. So, you know, I had a lot of cleaning up to do. There was a lot of evaluating to do. And there were a lot of, you know, things that I had to more or less kind of, you know, take into account. So, you know, biggest thing I wanted to accomplish was I needed to start putting music out. So there were actually precursors to Paper Mache Muscle. Paper Mache Muscle started right when I got back. And it actually, funny enough, the original tracks for Paper Mache Muscle started the day Prince died. So Prince died when I get back from Europe, and it sucks. So I'm feeling everything. I mean, that was one of my favorite artists because, you know, for me, it's Prince and D'Angelo. Those are my two, you know. So it's like early beat influence was Prince. That was the dude, like I heard programming drums for the first time and I was just like, what is this? And it was exciting for me because it was electronic sounds, but it was progression of like, I heard hip hop and I liked hip hop, but the way Prince would nuance and roll his shit on his lens, it was just different, you know? And it wasn't so stagnant because he was already a musician. So he was programming in an entirely different way. But, you know, Prince dies and I decide I need to make some music. So I'm coming back from Europe, got this dope, you know, little collection of records that I already picked up from over there. And so I just get to chop it. As you know, the summer went on, you know, I got back in April. I decided to do an event called Hybrid Forums in May. Well, started in May, culminated in an actual exhibit in August. So it was 5 releases of tracks that I had already had out. Like I said, I was going through a period where at this period I didn't have any, you know, for sure artists that I was working with. So I had a lot of music that I had done that was dope that I recorded previously. So I cleaned it up. We decided to make a compilation. And this is actually my first foray into actually working with artists and doing actual collaborations with visual artists. So this is actually, you know, what led to me, you know, thinking about the ideas for when people start to see the artwork. The artist name for Paper Mache Muscle is Dan Miller. And he actually did the actual collage piece for that for this current project. But it started with Pep Rally Inc. And one of our old, you know, friends and partners that we used to work with ended up moving to Florida. We collaborated with his group. So this gave me the idea for Paper Mache Muscle on collaborating with an artist and actually being able to push it more into the art sphere as opposed to just looking at it as solely a musical project. So we get there. The release after that ended up being a group of my own called Dal. And I wasn't unfortunately able to push that project like I wanted to. It was just a lot of stuff going on during that particular time. and I couldn't wear like 5 hats at once. So I kind of went into this mode where I'm like, look, I need to start working on my own stuff, my own particular release, and getting my own music out there. And as of, I think, November is when I started basically finishing off the last Paper Mache Muscle. I essentially locked myself in the studio for somewhere probably around 3 to 4 days. Didn't come out. I only ate probably like 2 of those days. And I just, you know, crafted this piece of what I like to consider collage art, but sonic collage art. So Paper Mache leans into, you know, aesthetically, you know, rough pieces of thinly placed, you know what I'm saying, thinly placed sonic bits and chops, because I didn't add a lot of, you know, it's very minimalist. I didn't add drums, you know, it's essentially me showing off particular skills on the MPC on this particular record. Everything was done off of the MPC. My 2000 XL has like been my weapon of choice for the last decade. So that's essentially what I still go to. It's old school, but it works because of texture, you know, and because of the fact that I'm still able to grab things before they're digitized and, you know, bits are chopped off of them. And I can take things that are still dirty. They're still digital going into, you know, the actual MP, but I'm still able to get, you know, certain amounts of grit that, you know, you can't, you know, grab off of simply bringing something into, you know, a computer program or a soft synth. And then I still have, you know, well, I can't point it all the way out, but, you know, still running through analog equipment. So the process in itself was completely analog. A lot of the actual remixes are done off of records out of my crate. So I have a lot of these original acapellas for a lot of the records that I remixed as well. And I chopped them up, you know what I'm saying, and did them my due diligence as best as I could, you know, to kind of keep, you know, the essence of where the artist was, but also weave together almost this, you know, this psychedelic paper thin picture for people. It's the glue in itself is the tape hiss and the actual the sonic haze that's almost like the film of the entire record, you know. So you get that grit and that stickiness from record to record, and the way that things almost chop abruptly is almost like somebody cutting and ripping pieces of paper and sticking them together back in another place so that they fit a different image, you know. So you're following a path, but the path is being made as you're following it with your ears.
Wow.
So the body's being created as you're listening.
Too deep for me. Oh, wow, that was awesome. But I mean, it takes takes it from wax to paste, from a solid form, and breaks it all the way down to the essence of what the music is. One thing that I liked that you told me about it is that nowadays people over process music. Right. So it's like, let's make it pristine and make it digital and all of that, and they're not leaving in like the crackle of the record, or, you know, they're not leaving in like the grit and all of that. And that's one thing that you can hear. Paper Mache Muscle is also super trippy because of that, because instead of being something that's separated from you through whatever means you're listening to it, it's right next to you.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about why you wanted to do that.
Well, at any cost, I think my job as a musician is to create a space of intimacy with the listener. And I'm not talking intimacy in the sense of, you know, we're not even always talking for that to be, sexual. When I say intimacy, it's something close to your soul and your heart. So it touches you in a way that, you know, provokes or moves something in you. Maybe it provokes a smile from you, or maybe it provokes a thought or a memory. Maybe you reminisce, you know, but it's something that grabs you essentially, and you find yourself woven into the actual texture of the project because of those things kind of, you know, hitting your ears in these certain ways. You know, you being reminded. I pay particular attention to frequency here as well, you know, and so things being on human timing as well, you know. The actual way in which the project flows, you know, it has an actual almost storyline type of flow to it, all the way up until the end, because the end of the project is actually the setup for the next couple of releases. They're going to be coming probably in May. So there's a surprise at the end. It's probably it's an artist most people wouldn't expect, a cat, you know, that's making hip hop to flip, but I love her music. I fuck with her music like heavy. not going to say who it is. I'll wait till everybody listens to the project. But yeah, I like to create spaces for people to enjoy music in. And that's why I think it's important to continue to weave together projects and continue to weave together sonic ideas and almost take the listener on a journey. Because a lot of times I hear projects that come out and it sounds like, hey, let's try to figure out how we can fit 13 hit records on one project. And it sucks because of the fact that it's not woven together. It's 13 smash records and that's great, but there's no consistency there. It's just like, hey, we're just trying to make the same song 13 freaking times, as opposed to like, all right, I'm going to put out this body of work, and I'm going to let this float and do what it does. I'm not thinking about the immediate monetization. I'm setting people up for a long-term visit from me, essentially. So I'm looking at essentially building legacy starting this particular project because of the fact that, I want to become a household name. I want to become, especially like in place, but across the world. I'm looking overseas at this point. And I'm not looking at just kind of sitting in the States. I want to do as much as I can do here, but I feel like we need to expand our horizons as artists and really start to stretch out and realize that we have brothers and sisters around the world who are waiting to experience the things that we have for them. And we don't have to wait, on them to find us. We can go find them and we can go, where they are. Because a lot of times in this industry, as it's just about showing up, and being there a lot of times. And it may not even be an immediate, immediate reciprocity from you being there, but it's setting you up for whatever's next or whatever the next move is that you might have to make, because you're building a cord and you're building almost like a link between yourselves and other people at that time. So it's like a pipeline that you have there. But I digress. Yes. The point is basically just to build, warm, feel-good vibes for people that are inviting at the end of the day.
Right. That's awesome. So any advice for anybody, up-and-coming artists or even up-and-coming, I just want to be a product and put something out there and be famous. Any advice for them? Since you've been in the game since you were 7, sounds like. What's your advice?
Honestly, this game isn't for the faint of heart. I'm not going to lie to people right now because of the fact that you got to go through some stuff. The one thing that most people don't want to do when they get in here, they don't realize the amount of sacrifice that it takes on their part. It's not about you wanting what you want anymore when you get in this game. It's about you supplying your needs to get you what you want. So essentially, you supplying your needs could take anywhere from 5 years to 10 years. But if that's how long it takes, because you have to sustain yourself and you have to make sure that you can eat and that you can go on and do what you need to do, do that, But I'll put it like this. My ascension basically came when I decided to let go of a lot of things. And, things like comfort, things like sleeping in a house, giving up sleeping in a house and sleeping in an apartment for renting out a studio space and sleeping on a couch, hitting a floor if I got to hit a floor and not having anywhere to sleep at times, going 2 days without eating because the project is done and I'm banking on this, whether it hits or not. You got to have that willpower and that drive. And it's not so much about you wanting to do this. It's about you having to do this. It's about you feeling that there's nothing else for you but to do this. Because if you want that as badly as you want to breathe, as you want to eat, as you want to wake up and take a clean shower, wash your ass, wash your hair, as badly as you want to do those things, when you can't do those things, you have to want this just as badly. And most people aren't ready for that. I mean, and that's just real. A lot of times that's what determines, your independent artists from your one-hit wonders. Because your one-hit wonders are the ones sitting there that can get picked up off of one song and it's great, but you just start a trend and trends only last about one summer at this point. You're lucky if you make it past 2 years, and there are plenty of artists that are come and gone within that wave. People we're not even talking about that were hot and relevant last year at South by, last year at Bonnaroo, last year at Coachella, all these places that are nowhere this year, and you don't want to be that person. So you have to honestly figure out if this shit is really what you're about. It's life. It's not, this isn't you know, if I hear people all the time that come in and they're like, oh, you know, I got this day job. I can't wait to quit this day job and do what you do. You don't want these responsibilities. This is 7 in the morning when it has to be 7 in the morning. This is 3 in the morning when it has to be 3 in the morning until the next day or the next day. There is no break. I haven't had a vacation in 7 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's none of the luxuries that people expect to get instantaneously. Well, you can let somebody else buy them for you if they buy you out. You know what I'm saying? And you decide to whore your art out. And it's not even whoring it out. Maybe that's all you desire of this game is just to kind of get in and get out and make a quick buck, and that's cool. But if you're in it for the art, you got to be ready to go through some things. But you got to be ready, honestly, to create at your highest level. And the only way you get there is deciding that you are willing to give everything up to get there, period.
Wow. Well, y'all heard it here. Y'all heard it here. From the guy that they're going to make the Get Down Houston about on Netflix. Watch 2025. I'll give it 2025. The Get Down Houston. DJ Ivy. This podcast, because when it comes to run me my check, that's all I'm saying.
I got you.
But seriously, on a serious note, go check out Paper Mache Muscle. Follow him on Instagram at Ivy League _hard. And it's just Ivy, like the letters, Ivy League _hard, to check on that and check on when Paper Mache Muscle Part 2, which I'm not sure if that's going to be the name of it, but when the second part of it comes out.
Lead Savage. I'll let that name out. So Lead Savage. You
heard it here. I am the industry, louder than music, exclusive. Wait, I need like a button, like a button. Say it again. Say it again. What is it now?
Lead Savage.
Lead Savage. So we done gone from wax to paper and paste to lead. So it should be what? Hard. So count on that. And follow him, like I said, at Ivy League _hard. Go check out killemcollective.com. Check out the video. Check out my article at Hope Carter. That's me on Instagram if you want to catch up with my writing. If you want to hear me rant and talk about random things, Carter on Twitter. I try to keep that separate. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you, DJ Ivy, for being here. Any final thoughts?
Let's continue to push shit forward here in Houston. Honestly, like, cats that are really trying to work, yo, seriously, holla at me. I'm down for people that grind and people that want to get it. But at the end of the day, just know, like, I'm gonna be doing my thing. So get on or get left, either one. I suggest you get on, like, real talk, because I love working with people, you know what I'm saying? Shout out especially to a couple of people who know who I'm talking to. We got some good work coming out. Hopefully we got some ill collabs coming up for the city that we're going to be able to promote too. I had given up on my city. Like, I know y'all are out there, so let's work, let's get it. You know, I'm open. You know, I love y'all, straight up, man. 420. D.
420.
You'll hear it here first. 420 at Dean's. Paper Mache Muscle release. 8 to 10 p.m. If you get a chance, 420 at Dean's. 8 to 10 p.m. We'll be doing the score, which is my DJ residency with Flash Gordon Parks right after. And Good Grief, as well as Good Girl Mel, who is the host of Dean's The Score, The Funky Score. But 420, 8 to 10 p.m. Paper Mache Muscle release is going to be trippy as fuck. But come through. It should be ill.
And it's already super trippy. I've been and watched him DJ. I actually went a couple weeks ago, and he DJs some of the best songs that your parents ever played. Like, seriously, I could not sit down. And what's even trippier is behind it, they play videos of Soul Train, and those people are always on beat no matter what he plays. He might be Illuminati. It's inexplicable. But again, thank y'all for tuning in. 420, I will be there if you want to follow me. Catch it live on Instagram, bits and pieces when I'm not dancing or socializing. Again, that's at Ivy League _hard. I am at Hope Carter. Thank you once again for joining in. I am the industry louder than music. See y'all.
Yo says.